أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم، وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. By the barakah of Sidi Shaykh, Sidi Mohamed Faouzi Karkari, Qaddasallahu Sirrah. Notes from lecture of May 13th, 2024. Before starting this video, I would like to state that this work would never have seen the light without Sidi Shaykh. If something is wrong, it will be from myself, and everything that is correct is from Sidi Shaykh. In this lecture, Sidi Shaykh spoke about Surah Yusuf, alayhi salam. He explained that this surah holds a unique significance in the welfare of the disciple in regards to inhalation in the presence of the Lord, and not paying attention to anything other than Him. Allah describes it as the best of stories. The Quran contains several stories, but the best of them is the story of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. The surah begins with the individual letters Qawasam, Alif Lam, Ra, which are from among the luminous letters that Allah swears upon. These luminous letters discount repetitions. Number 14. The other 14 letters from the Arabic alphabet are called by some as letters of darkness, huruf dhulmaniyya. However, Sidi Shaykh said that in the tariqah, these letters are not referred to as dark, since the Quran is written with these letters. Thus, they are called shadowy luminous letters, huruf dhulmaniyya. It's as if they are the shadow to the other letters, and the shadow of light is light. These 28 letters means the 14 luminous letters and the 14 shadowy luminous letters make up the whole of the Arabic language, which is the language of the Quran, of angels, and of paradise. It was even the language of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. Some claim that he spoke Syriac or Hebrew, but the truth is that he spoke Arabic. Sidi Shaykh added that when a surah begins with one of the Qawasam, the rest of the surah is an explanation of these letters. It's as if they represent a title or a key to the story. After the Qasam, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, these are the verses of the clear book. Sidi Shaykh explained that the verses of the clear book are Alif Lam Ra. He added that the main difference between Surah Yusuf and other chapters is that the other surahs contain parts of stories, but Surah Yusuf contains the entirety of the story of Sayyidina Yusuf, from its beginning to its end. In the next verse, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, indeed we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran, so that you may understand. Sidi Shaykh explained that the Quran was sent in Arabic, so that humans could understand it, يعقلوا, and then put their trust in Allah, يتوكل على Allah, in its interpretation, tafsir. It's not correct to say an explanation, sharh, of the Quran. Rather, it's an interpretation, tafsir of the Quran. It's possible to say an explanation, sharh, of the words of the Quran, but not explanation of the Quran. An explanation is limited. It has a beginning and an end. As for interpretation, it's vast. It has no limits. For this reason, there are multiple interpretations of the Quran, such as Tafsir al-Qurtubi, Tafsir Zul Jalalain, Tafsir Ibn Kathir, etc. Each of them tries to provide an interpretation based on their respective intellectual and scientific capacity and their faithful junction, wasl imani, with their Lord. On the other hand, an explanation, sharh, is a definite matter. No one can add or remove from it. In the next verse, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we relate to you the best of stories through our revelation of this Quran, though before this you were totally unaware. Since this story is the best of stories, one is considered from the people of unawareness or heedlessness, al-ghafla, as long as one does not understand it. Moreover, this surah is considered as a purification and an acknowledgement, tazkiyah, that one is no longer from the people of ghafla. Just by understanding this surah, one removes ghafla, and that's why its rank or its station, maqam, is in the third reading of the name of Majesty. The third lecture is a total annihilation, and one should not be turning towards others as siwa, however it is. After this lecture comes the lecture of the session, al-fasl. It's as if one has no more any junction with any type of heedlessness. Thus, the reality of understanding the secret. If one considers himself to have attained this lecture while still in a state of heedlessness, it means that he has not truly attained it. Attaining the third lecture is salvation from heedlessness, and one would never fall in any heedlessness. It's a clear opening, Fath Mubin, and forgiveness from one's past and future sins. So before the revelation of this surah, humans were in heedlessness. Sidi Shaykh added that one's comprehension to this surah is dependent on the presence with his Lord. If he's still in ghafla, he has no comprehension to this surah. Sidi Shaykh further explained that it's the half of the beauty of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Shatru Jamali Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it cannot be said that half of the beauty of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has heedlessness in it. Rather, it's a complete presence and awareness. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was in a state of presence with his Lord since his childhood, whether he was in beauty, Jamal, or majesty, Jalal. As for the disciple, if a state makes him in junction, wasl, with his Lord, and another state makes him in session, fasl, then he has not benefited from this surah. Sidi Shaykh added that the number of verses of Surah Yusuf is equal to the numerical value of the alif when considered in his expanded form. The numerical value of A equals 1, the numerical value of Lam equals 30, and the numerical value of Fa equals 18, which is 111. Allah did not reveal this surah for Muslims just for them to hear it, but for them to extract a lesson, a medicine, and a knowledge, ulum. In the next verse of the surah, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, when Joseph said to his father, "Oh my dear father, indeed I dreamt of 11 stars, and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrated to me." Sidi Shaykh explained that from here starts the story of Sayyidina Yusuf. It's as if the first verses were an introduction to the story. The first verses contain a treasure that is not to be declared, but the disciple should discover it himself. With what the story contains, one can understand what is in its first verses. Sidi Shaykh added that the story of Sayyidina Yusuf starts when he informs his father about what he saw in his dream vision, ru'ya, and the ru'ya of prophets is a revelation. And when prophets see something in a ru'ya, it's an announcement, naba, that will certainly come to pass. A dream vision, ru'ya, is from Allah, and a dream, hulum, is from Satan, and this is clearly a dream vision in the case of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. Sayyidina Yusuf informed the closest and the most beloved person to him, which is his father, about what he saw in the dream vision. He addressed his father with utmost courtesy when he said, "Oh, my dear father, ya abati." When one needs someone to listen to him, he should address him with respect, adab, because it's not an obligation for him to listen. Whether it was a question, a comprehension, or a dream vision, one should always be respectful in his speech. If Sayyidina Yusuf said, "Oh, my father," maybe his father would say to him, "Keep the matter for another time, I'm busy right now." So one is required to have tenderness in his speech. And this is a message for disciples. Some disciples create a whole story just to ask one question, and this is the utmost of disrespect. It's futile to talk without purpose or to talk merely for the sake of talking. One should learn from the best of stories, and he who has the third secret does not talk for no reason. If the first lecture concerned the niche, al-mishkat, the second lecture concerned the lamp, al-musbah, and the third lecture concerning the glass, az-zujaja, then one has no more time to consider what is in the niche. He is instead feeling the heat of the luminosity of the lamp. When one speaks a lot, he will certainly fall in heedlessness. He will add or remove something from the reality. That's why Sayyidina Yusuf directly said in his dream vision to his father, after saying, "Oh, my dear father." From the dream vision of Sayyidina Yusuf, it's evident that the sun is not of the same category as the moon, and the planets are also distant from the moon and the sun. If they were the same, he would have Muhammad seen 30 planets prostrated to him. Why would he divide them? This is a secret in itself. It's a high comprehension. He gave multiplicity for planets and singularity for the sun and the moon. He also started with planets before the sun and the moon. He did not divide the act of prostration. The prostration happened for the planets, the sun and the moon, but his vision started with the planets, the sun, then the moon. Sidi Shaykh said that some disciples say that they may saw the sun since the Pledge of Allegiance, al-Bay'ah, and this is lying. Is this disciple better than Yusuf alayhi salam? Also, Sayyidina Ibrahim saw the planet, the moon, then the sun. The vision of Sayyidina Ibrahim was in a state of wakefulness, and he described it by saying, "This is my Lord." As for Sayyidina Yusuf, the vision was while sleeping. It's not a comparison between the two prophets. Each of them was a separate and different situation. Sidi Shaykh added that the Quran and Sunnah does not contain a defect, and that's why one should use them in extracting esoteric interpretations or allusions of the Quran, rather than using one's intellect. Even Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we relate to you the best of stories through our revelation of this Quran. Before revelation, one is heedless and unaware. His interpretation and thoughts are refused. For instance, in this case, the prostration happened for Sayyidina Yusuf, who is in the third heaven, and did not happen for Sayyidina Ibrahim, who is in the seventh heaven, or the Prophet Mohamed ﷺ, who is in Sidratul Muntaha. If it was with the intellect, the prostration would be for the Prophet ﷺ. That's why one should not use the intellect in this context, as it would make him fall more into his darkness, and that's why Allah says in Surah An-Nur, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, he to whom Allah assigns no light, he will have no light. So that was all for this video. Alhamdulillah الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق اللهم لك الحمد اللهم لك الحمد اللهم لك الحمد اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.